will be better. The next thing you do is to say, well, there's a lot of things they can do other than take courses, which will be stimulating to them. And so we have a fantastic number of extracurricular activities, of political activities, and orchestras, and drama where they can communicate in music, and singing groups, and I don't know, groups to put on Gilbert and Sullivan operas or everything. Well, in the course of that, there are many opportunities for oral communication. All of these groups have to meet and organize, and somebody's got to persuade other people to do things, and so you have a very rich experience in which, so even though we should be doing more in the classroom about oral communication, we do provide an environment in which it's almost impossible to escape without having spent a lot of time having, in some semi-formal way, the job of trying to persuade another group of people to accept your point of view. So I think if I were devising from scratch an honors program, I would think as hard about what goes on outside the classroom as I would in putting together the curriculum, because I think you will find at the end your students will believe that they learned as much outside of class as they did inside, and so you've got to avoid the tendency of the faculty to say, well, we don't do that. I mean, we just teach in formal classes. That's too narrow a view to take if you're really serious about providing something special for the very talented students that you're admitting into these programs.
Well, to stay on that point, interestingly, here at Roosevelt Academy, we have a course which teaches persuasive speaking and speaking eloquently. It's called the rhetoric.
You're quite familiar with that course.
I teach on that course. Yeah. It's called rhetoric and argumentation, and it's kind of 50% communication skills and 50% critical thinking skills. Unfortunately, we don't offer it to all of our students. It's just compulsory for arts and humanities students. We find that a lot of social sciences students find their way in then anyhow, especially law and political sciences students. And they have to go through the old-fashioned rhetorical canon of, inventing sound arguments, arranging them, stylizing them, and then performing them. And the performance aspect ends up in, first of all, they do debates, and they also then do a public speech. And there are all kinds of criteria that they have to adhere to, and the other students are given them. In fact, Hannah, you've taken this course, haven't you? Maybe you should say something about it instead of me.
Yeah, I think it's what Professor Bach just said. That was I took it in my second semester, and that was a start for the rest of my courses. That was where I learned sort of the basic skills, and I practiced it through all of my other courses. If that would have been the only time I would have had to give a public speech or do a debate, I would never have gotten any better in it. But because I had to do it in almost every single course, it helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in my course, the rhetoric and argumentation, my colleagues teach on it as well, we train them formally how to debate, also ethically, of course, which is extremely important, and non-fallaciously, so they're understanding the argument structure. And then my colleagues take this on in their major departments, and it continues, doesn't it? Yeah. Would anybody? Yes.
In my point of view, every year a new generation comes to the university, and those are the people who are taking over. And I like to see them as such, because they will do so on the basis of their own insights and their own convictions and beliefs. And they should do so. So there's something about an older generation giving something of value to a new generation and valuing this new generation. And I think this has to do with the way the place of universities in our Western society. And I think this it's a way of communicating and being part of the world and being able to take a place in the world, in interaction, in oral communication, in writing. So I think it's a way of presenting yourself, of being yourself in a democratic society.
Does anybody want to respond to that or say something? Yeah?
I don't want to respond on the comment of the gentleman before, but I'd like to tell a little bit about how we go around doing these things. I'm from a professional university, so we're less academic. Being able to persuade someone has to do with getting your assignment or selling someone something that you made or you believe in. So apart from that, everybody has to start with a certain test if their level of language is enough. I'm sorry, my English is a bit rusty.
It's fine, it's fine.
We ask them almost the entire year to present what they've done, first to their peers, but later on to the actual outside person who asked them to develop something. So our technicians will have developed something for a company, and they have to go to the company and explain how they did it, why they did it, and why it's a good way. And for our kind of students, that's very important that they learn that it's not something hypothetical, something you'll need once for writing a letter of recommendation or something, but that you need it for your professional career. And that's very important because that gets the student motivated to participate in these kind of skills, because otherwise it's a bit of a boring sort of, I did that in high school, why do I have to do it when I'm learning a vocation? So I think that's important too, that you make them understand or experience why it is important.
You have some very powerful evidence to back you up, because in every survey of employers that I have ever read, where you ask employers what would you like to see done better in the college graduates that you are hiring, always on that list comes, I wish they could write better and communicate orally better. And I think you're right. The moment, at least if your students are like our students, most of them are really too preoccupied with education as preparation for a job. But you might as well turn it to your advantage where you can. And so if you can persuade them that we're really doing this because it's one of the most important things that employers are looking for, probably the students will be more motivated to take the course seriously and not feel you're just giving them a Mickey Mouse requirement that they don't really need to have.
I think it's an excellent idea to test the level of language when they come in, whether that's English or Dutch, and then test them when they go out again. Does anybody do that in any
I'm just curious, yes. How many of you here would be able to give a clear answer in your institution to how much your students improved from the ability they had to write and communicate orally when they came in to when they leave? Do any of your institutions really try to measure that? I gather no.
I measure it only halfly. I mean, I measure at the end, in a way. Never thought of it that way, but since you said you should give a test in the beginning and the end to measure improvement, what we do is at graduation time, when they get their diploma, they have to give their own graduation speech. So rather than staff members giving a speech, thanking the students for their good efforts and their nice work, the teachers actually sit in the back of the hall, and the students need to give a 2-minute presentation about what they learned in the 2 years that they followed our program. And it can be content, or it can be like personal learning, or it can be that they talk about their future plans, but one of those 3 things they will cover in their speech.
Yes.
So, and we record them on DVD, so it's a way of testing their oral skills and their presentation skills. But also, since they're reflecting themselves on what they've learned, I experience that evening as a very special evening where I get a good overview of all the things and diversity of things that they've learned while going through the same program. But I will start thinking of maybe we should do that in the beginning as well, about their expectations, and let them give a presentation and record it and see the difference. It would actually be very nice. So it's a very valuable idea.